So today the topic is something a bit interesting. I think it's interesting. Most women will think it's interesting, which is men's lustful desires. I think that overall a lot of people think that men are, or I'll say women, a lot of women in our perspective sometimes fear men. They fear the sexual desires of men because it seems that it'll lead them down a spiral, some type of weird spiral that makes them or allows them to do anything. And so the question today is, should women fear the sexual desires of men? And do men get some type of leeway for the fact that it's in their nature? And what does that actually mean? So today we're going to get into those hard questions. Malik, you ready? I got
Yeah,
some
I'm
questions for you.
ready.
I got the questions.
I'm ready. But I think the real question is God versus men's
Absolutely.
desires, right? So I
Yeah.
think the real question is, are men out of God's order? That's the real question.
Mhm. That's a big component of it. And I think that it's the major component of it. Like, what does God say about men's lustfulness and the
Yeah,
desires that they have? And of course, did God design men with it being in their nature to be more
yeah,
promiscuous or to fornicate or to cheat more than women? And
yeah.
we understand statistics, but I think today's conversation is more of one about the heart, you
The
know?
heart. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think before we dive into this, I think a lot of men struggle with two important things:
What's that?
emotional void and spiritual void. And the reason I think that a lot of men struggle with this and why they jump to being so lustful and why they jump to perversion and they jump to over sexualizing everything, and want to just fall head first into things and not think about it because, like I said, emotional void and spiritual void. And I think a lot of that comes from loneliness in men. A lot of men are lonely, a lot more lonely than women actually truly think. A lot of men are, at home by themselves, no children,
Mhm.
no spouse, and so they're lonely. So the first opportunity they get, they jump on it. There's no thought for it, and this is wrong.
Yeah.
Stress. Men get stressed out. Maybe they got too many kids at home and a spouse that annoys them, and then they jump to the first opportunity they can get. Right? This is wrong. And also, men have emotions that they tap into, I believe, too much. And they jump at the first opportunity they get because they are emotionally sporadic. They're all over the place. Very, very emotional. And instead of turning to God, they're turning to their perversions, they're turning to their lust. This is the issue.
I muted it just in case. But yeah, I think that I believe that there is an issue when it comes down to the understanding between men and women. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that women have these questions and men always give answers that I don't think are really spot on to what they're feeling. Cause I don't think men are inclined to talk about their feelings, right? Men
Yeah,
are not inclined to be vulnerable, especially to women that they're not being intimate with and that they don't have like deep relationship with. And
correct.
so when women are asking these questions, especially on online forums or amongst friend groups or whatever, I think men have a lack of or a fear of like embarrassment, based
What do
on
you
their
mean?
desires,
Embarrassment.
embarrassment about what their true intention and their true desires are, right? Because
Mhm.
what women understand is that it's in their nature. So when a man cheats on you, or when he doesn't do that, or when he wants to have multiple wives, or he wants to have so many women, or whatever the case may be,
Mhm.
um, that's deemed as, it's in his nature. And it
Okay.
almost seems like there's like this little loophole for men that, of course, if we were having the discussion about women, we understand that that same loophole is so far from existence.
Yeah.
So should women be afraid of men's sexual desires, of their lust, because it seems as though it leads men down a dark path.
Afraid, fearful. No, women shouldn't be afraid or fearful of these things. Um, Women should, have a discernment and have a worry for these things, right? They should look for these things and have insight on, okay, if he's doing these things, then maybe I shouldn't pursue. But I find that a lot of women don't pay attention to that. They see it and they say, maybe I could change it. But fearful, no. And the reason is because a man is supposed to be with a woman and a woman is supposed to be with a man. So you shouldn't fear something that you're supposed to spend your life with. You shouldn't fear something that you're supposed to spend eternity with. So fearful, no. I don't think a man should be afraid of a woman. Like a man shouldn't say, I'm afraid to get married because she might do this to me. And a woman shouldn't say, I'm afraid to get married because he might do this to me. No, we are both supposed to exist and coexist with each other. So being afraid of each other, I think, honestly, to me, is one of the most foolish things that I see now in this generation. And whether you want to talk about the manosphere or you want to talk about the female sphere, I don't. It doesn't matter what side you want to call it. I think both sides, when you start saying, "Well, I'm afraid to marry a man because of this," and "I'm afraid to marry a woman because of this," and you're avoiding coexisting with each other out of fear, is very, very foolish to me. And it's out of nature and it's out of character, which is why you see people stumbling and falling on themselves because it's not, honestly, it's not natural. It's not normal. We are trying to force ourselves to think that is normal and to show people, look, it is normal for you to, spend 90% of your life, 90% of your time with your homies. Hey, look, it is normal to spend 90% of your life with your homegirls. This is not normal. It's not normal.
So you don't think that fear, like the fear that women are expressing for the men wanting to sexually conquer, like can't that go dark? You get what I'm saying? Like, can't there be shouldn't there be a fear there? Or not shouldn't there, but isn't it valid to have a fear when it seems as though a man can be overcome with lust to his own demise, you know?
Well, I will say this. I understand why the fear is there, but is it valid? No. But I do understand. There's two different things. I understand why the fear is there, why the concern is there. And that's what I'm getting into. I think that they're using the word fear as an excuse to escape instead of saying, I have a concern for this. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Women, you have every right to have a concern for a man's lust. You have the right to have concern for a man being perverted or extreme perversion being expounded upon, right?
Mm-hmm.
A concern for this is your right. Same thing for a man. It's right for you to have concern of something that's wrong. But to have fear of it is an excuse to say why you're not doing it. Why I don't have a man is because I'm fearful of him doing this to me. That's
You
an
think it
excuse.
creates avoidance?
It
Like you think
creates avoidance. Exactly. You're creating a void within yourself. So women, I understand why you have fear, but you don't need to have fear. Concern is what you should have. Concern and discernment to say, nah, this ain't it. Because
oh, sorry, go ahead.
what I find is men are honestly doing these things because they know they can get away with it. That's what I find. I find men are doing it because they know, well, she ain't really saying nothing this time, or the whole world knows that this is in a man's nature to do this. So why y'all tripping? You know, Solomon had multiple wives, and X, Y, and Z had multiple wives, and so they try to make it normal for women to accept, or make it normal for other men to say, oh, maybe I should do that too. It looked like it's working for him, so I should do that too. Not
But
knowing that,
the thing is, Malik, when you say that, it sounds like victim blaming. Because if you say like, oh, she didn't say nothing, so it kind of seems like it's being allowed. You know, it
yeah,
almost seems
exactly,
like men are
exactly.
incapable of controlling themselves. You know,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
so is that what you mean? Because if you look to women to be the correction for what men should do in their own consciousness, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that where we're at with it? You know what I'm saying? Where women
Yeah,
have to
that's
say,
it.
hey, don't, it's not okay to touch me and you don't even know me. It's not okay to force me to do stuff I don't want to do. Like, shouldn't that be common sense?
It should be, but that's where we've come to now. We've come to where, like I said, you see it now everywhere. Red pill is one of the biggest things on the internet now, the manosphere, right? It's
Mm,
one of the biggest things on the internet. And they're teaching men for it to be normal to say, if I open the door for you, you better open the door for me. Matter of fact,
yeah,
I should have waited for the woman to open the door for me. That's what we've come to now, where men are saying, "No, we've been opening the doors long enough for y'all. It's y'all turn to open the doors for me." And they think that that's normal. They
yeah.
really truly believe that that's a normal thing to come out of their grown man mouth. You got 40-year-old men, 35-year-old men, 55-year-old men, men who got gray beards,
Mhm.
and they're saying, "Yeah, women need to open the door for me. What you gonna bring to the table for me?" Because they have perverted the word. They have perverted their minds. They have perverted the youth. They have perverted their friends. They have perverted their best friends. They have perverted their sons. They have perverted their cousins. And most importantly, like I just said, they have perverted the Bible. They
Mhm.
perverted it and take scriptures and tell men, see, look, even the Bible says it, so I can't be wrong.
They just take a little piece
They
and use
take
it
a
out of
piece,
context.
they take a tiny piece of the Bible and say, see, but if you keep reading, no, tell them the verse that you gave them and tell them to keep reading that same chapter and see what happens. Tell them to finish that gospel, finish that book and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because they're lying to these men. They're leading them astray because they're taking things out of context. All because of why? Because they want to pervert the mind and they want to continue their lust, rather it's lust for women or lust for money. Either way it goes, they're wrong because they're trying to actually they're doing both at the same time. Actually, they're lusting after your money while saying, I'm gonna go get 10 more bodies. I'm gonna go get 10 more women to sleep with.
Yeah, and the that's another question I have. Like, since you said that, that just sparked another thought in my head. What is that? What is
What is
the
what?
need to like sleep with so many women? And like, let me preface this by saying I can almost understand, even though it's wrong. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand it's wrong. But when men talk about like bodies, right? Like, let's talk about that. When men talk about those things, and it's like violent and physical and stuff, and I understand this is against the law, it's wrong. I can kind of see how that seems like conquering or war, or like I was stronger than this man, vice versa, right? But then when you start talking about accumulating with all these women, like accumulating all these times that you slept with all these women, I don't see how that is fulfilling. I guess in my female mind, it doesn't make sense to me why there's a fulfillment there.
Well, it goes back to the very first point that I made. It's not a fulfillment, it's actually a void. They're using these women as a placeholder to avoid stress, loneliness, emotional struggles, spiritual struggles, and
Mhm.
faith struggles. So they're using these women for the void that they have with God. That's the honest truth. So
Yeah.
you find a man who says, "Well, you got to sleep with at least 50 women before you marry one woman," right?
Mhm.
That is a man who has found himself on the complete opposite planet of the creator, the complete opposite side of the world than Jesus. That is what it is. You have now entered a realm of spirituality doesn't exist for me. God doesn't exist for me when you have entered that realm. When you've entered that realm of I can get so many women, or I can lust after so and steal from so many women, or steal money from these people, or go after these people's emotions and do these and these things, right? Is purely out of evilness. That's what it is. It's literally just that simple. It's evilness.
But
And
wouldn't
how
you say that God made men more sexual?
do I think he made them more sexual?
Yeah, like the desires of men is a common thing amongst all men, right? So would you say that God made men more sexual than women or more
No,
lustful?
he didn't make no, because
No.
no. And the reason that we know this is because man was created first and it was good
Mm,
in Genesis. Let's go to Genesis. When God made Adam, it was good. And when he made Eve for Adam, he said this was very good.
mm,
And this is pre-fall. This is before the fall. Adam had no knowledge of lust. Even with Eve, he had no knowledge of lust. So this lets you know that lust is of perversion and lust is of evilness, because when man and woman were made first in creation, they had no knowledge of what lust even was. They had no knowledge. They didn't even know that they were naked
mm.
when they were together
But don't
before
you
they.
lust after your spouse? Is that lust?
Do you lust after your spouse? No.
No, you
No.
don't.
No.
So
No.
lust in itself is a sin. Like
Yes.
lust is a sin. And
Yes.
so see, I didn't know that lust itself was a sin because I
Yes.
thought that
Yes.
lust is something that
I'll
we
I'll give you I got some notes here for you. Just because you asked that, right? So let's look at this. I'm glad you brought this up because I actually wrote down these two as notes for myself. So I have sexual desires and I
mm,
have lust, right? So
mm,
sexual desire is within marriage. It's good and it was God given. So sexual desire is good. God gave us this to join together for companion and loveship with each other. As a
mm,
man and a woman, sexual desire with each other is good because it shows our love for one another. It brings us closer together, right? So you have sexual desire. That is what sexual desire is. Now we have lust. Lust is a misdirected desire of this. It's reducing someone or something as an object for self gratification. This violates God's design for us.
oh, so
Why?
it shows that lust is not just sexual.
No, lust is not just sexual. That's what I'm saying.
Mm,
And lust is literally okay. Let's say, for example, if if I lust after this woman, right?
mm,
She's not mine. She's not
right.
mine. So I'm trying to covet something. I'm trying to covet something that's not mine. I'm trying to covet something that I don't have the rights to. I'm
Mm,
trying to covet something that I don't even know what this is or who this is. I don't have any commitment, a covenant. I don't have a covenant to this person, but I want it. Why do you want something that you don't have a commitment to? The
mm,
reason why God says this is wrong is because guess what?
mm,
If I cannot commit, why do you deserve it? Do you
mm.
go to heaven if you don't commit to God?
No,
Do you go to heaven if you don't commit to Jesus?
no,
Do you get the good fruits that God made on this earth if you don't commit to it?
no.
So why should you lust after this woman when you have not committed to her? Do you understand?
I get it. So now I'm correlating. I know this was the title, but now I'm perceiving lust completely different,
Mhm.
right? So now I'm understanding that did my thing get dim? Am I dim
No,
to you?
no,
Or
no.
something?
You still good.
Yeah, so now I'm perceiving lust as like something of a bigger picture, I guess, because when you talk about men wanting to just like sleep around or men just wanting to have this like conquering mentality, like you
Uh-huh.
said, it's rooted in their desire to have, I guess, maybe people's desire in general to have what's not theirs. You know what
Yes,
I'm saying?
exactly. Which
Have
is
what
why
they,
one of the commandments is what?
thou shalt not covet a neighbor's belongings. Yeah,
Hmm.
because we want what we can't have. We
Because
want what,
you know what covet is? You know what coveting something is?
yeah,
Coveting,
jealousy.
not even just jealousy. I'll break it down for you.
Mhm.
Coveting is the consumption of something. You to have consumption of something means to use up. I use it up. So if I take a woman and I consume her, I used her up.
And then you
This
kind
is
of
why
discard her as if she's
exactly. This is
mhm.
why you should not covet a woman. This is why you should not lust after a woman because all you're doing is taking her and using her up and then you drop her off. It's like, well, she's used up. You use all the resources of it. You used all the qualities and the values of this woman, right? And you consume it up, consumption. You used all of its resources up of this woman. And then it was like, well, she's not really useful anymore. She's gone.
Because you never owned her in the first place, so now you can freely throw her
You
away.
can freely throw her away.
It wasn't mine. It
Exactly.
wasn't even mine. And so
Exactly.
that's really interesting. That's really interesting because now the question is why though? Like why do you want to like almost like devalue a person to them not being a person? Because like if I can use you and dispose of you, you're almost not a being to me. Like I'm not looking at you as if you're a person with feelings, emotions, and all of those things. And I think sometimes that's minimized because of course the sex culture in our generation is just like insanity sometimes
Insane.
because
Yeah.
yeah, because you just look around and it's like that's normal, that's normal, that's normal. And none of this stuff is normal. Because
Yeah,
when you're looking
exactly.
at it from a biblical view, it's not normal. It's not normal to not want to have like relationship with a person that you're sleeping with, like
Exactly.
to the extent that I can sleep with you and then pull my pants up and walk out, and then if you never talk to me again, I'm cool, we cool, it's all good. That almost seems like a mental illness because I'm
Mhm.
just giving you something of myself, especially from a female perspective. I'm giving you something of myself, or let me not. I think now I'm changing my perspective. Not even a female perspective, just as a person, I've
As a
given
person.
you a part of myself, and now I'm
Exactly.
going to act as if what we didn't just do that, or I don't know you, or oh, appreciate it, thank you for letting me borrow a cup of sugar. That's kind of how I feel about it now. You
Yep.
know, that's kind of
Exactly.
where I'm looking at it very. I don't know. It's odd. And so I have another question for you. Like, okay,
Well, first, hold on. Before you get to
okay,
that
go ahead,
question,
go
I
ahead, go
wanted
ahead.
to say to this point of what you're saying. The reason why you see so much of this is because men are not addressing the heart. We
Mhm.
have a problem with addressing the heart because we
Is
think
that a
that
vulnerability thing?
I wouldn't even necessarily say just a vulnerability thing. It's a checking thing. It's a control thing. You have to check your heart at the door. When
Broken
you
Berlin said, because we don't see each other as a person, more like a sexual object to be used or enjoyed. Us this wrong? Yes, but is it understandable? Yes. See, that's the thing. I don't understand it because I think that from a spiritual perspective, you
Mhm.
really value people as human beings. You know what I'm saying? Like you value people from a place of like, dang, this is my brother or my sister, and God is giving you innate value, you know? So then
Yeah,
we've made it understandable. We've made it to where like you get it, right? And I think that people have to start saying, no, that's not normal. You know what I'm saying? That's not
yeah.
normal.
Yeah, and like I said, it's because we're not checking literally what he just said. We see each other as a sexual object. Sorry, I don't know if this is a male or female, but Broken Berlin, exactly what you just said. Humans now have degraded each other to the point where we only see each other as a sexual object because we're not checking each other or checking ourselves about our heart. And our heart, whatever is in our heart is what is going to come out. Whatever we believe truly in our heart, our actions are going to follow every single time. And what we don't realize is lust is of the heart, not just behavior.
He
Because
adds, in the
your
last
be
40 years, sexual desires have been bombarded into our hearts and brains through hip hop videos and porn. That
yep,
I agree with.
yep,
That I agree with.
yep,
And I really wasn't
100%.
I just telling you that earlier.
Yep,
I was just telling you that earlier. That's like
yep,
key to me. We are what we consume. And that's
yes,
not said enough in our generation. We don't realize how deeply ingrained these things that at some point in time were like heinous to say. Like
mhm,
Malik, there was times like in history, periods of time where it was things that were completely inappropriate to say at a dinner table, right? Like, and
yeah,
they
yeah,
weren't even that bad. But now
yeah,
we're getting to the point where it's just like you're in a restaurant and you hear the music and it's sick.
yeah.
It's sick.
We're we they have made it to where we are desensitized to everything,
Mhm.
everything.
And women
And
have co-signed this to tempt us. It's our culture to have a Jezebel sexual desire or a pimp hoe relationship. I don't know. What do you think, Malik? Go ahead.
let me see what he said. He said, and women have co-signed this way to tempt us. It's our culture to have a Jezebel sexual desire or a pimp hoe relationship. Here's the thing. Jezebel is a perfect example of what women have come to. And I think the problem lies, and this is the reason why I wanted to make this video towards the men. This is exactly the reason why, because I don't disagree with this of what he's saying, the Jezebel mentality from the women, because women have gone off into their own spiritual realm and lack thereof as well, right? But this is the reason why I address the men and not the women. Not because women don't deserve accountability, but because I truly believe that men are the head. And if we are the head, which we are, then the men have to start speaking up to the men in order to get the women in line, in order to get the women to see the vision. Because if we start if you have a whole bunch of men, right, battling against women, right? Going back and forth, all you're going to do is be having a versus battle. It's going to be men versus women and women versus men.
A cycle.
Instead, exactly, it's a cycle. Instead, we need to sit down. Let's say, for example, we're married, right? If I got 5 friends and they having some issues, I don't go to their wives and say, y'all need to do 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 do. Y'all need to do 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 do. No, I sit down with the men, my 5 friends, and I sit down with them and say, hey man, all of our wives, we having some issues right now, right? Let's game plan together on how we can fix this to make life easier, make life better. We don't go over there and sit down with the women and try to bicker at them and say X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, because all we're going to do is go back and forth and fight. Men need to start again having group council meetings and saying, men, you say your wife is doing what? All right, here's how you fix it. For example, in the Bible, Timothy went to Ephesus. When Timothy went to Ephesus, he was having trouble because he was young and he was in a world that he did not understand with women. And
Mm.
Paul, instead of going to Ephesus and cussing the women out and saying, women, y'all need to blah, 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 and y'all need to listen to Tim. No, you know what he did? He discipled and stewarded Tim. And he said, Tim, here's how you go about fixing these issues in Ephesus. Don't let them discourage you just because you're young. You have a gift, Timothy. You have a gift, and use your gift to get through to them. He encouraged him and he talked to him like a man. He didn't talk to him like a little boy. He didn't talk to him like a woman. He talked to him like a man and said, Tim, you got this. Keep striving, and I promise you, you're going to get these women to listen to you. because Timothy was in Ephesus where women worship goddesses. They didn't believe in the one true God. They didn't believe in Jesus. They were pagans.